Hello and good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first part of On the Ecclesiastical Mystagogy by St. Maximus the Confessor. This is the first part of a book summary / lecture on the Ecclesiastical Mystagogy, and I'm going to explain kind of what that is, what this is about. But first, I want to talk to my subscribers a little bit. As I said in my live stream, my channel, it's no longer going to be focused on music. Well, it is. I'm just going to be starting a new channel, and my focus is no longer going to be on music. If I create some music videos, I will repost them to the old channel, Caleb Creates, for the subscriber base there that cares about those things. But I am going to post this video to the Caleb Creates channel to those subscribers. As sort of a preview. I'm going to double post it there. So there's a link in the description to my new channel where my focus is shifted towards these kinds of theological topics because my interest has shifted. You will hopefully be able to expect, by the grace of God, consistent content on my new channel. Why am I doing this? So much of the Orthodox world, and this is Orthodox, this is Eastern Orthodoxy for those who don't know. So much of the Eastern Orthodox content online, very forthright, let's say, and bold in its claims, but I want to convey the spirit that brought me to Orthodoxy. And what is that spirit? Well, it's the spirit of truth. The spirit of truth is different from just, quote, having the truth, just having an intellectual knowledge of the truth. The spirit of truth is something that dwells in you. It goes beyond the common Western notion of just having truths, propositions that you just say, but it's something that you live. It's something that lives in you. Most likely I'm going to get things wrong, but I'm very much willing to be corrected. That is the spirit that I want to convey through this book summary and this lecture. There may be questions that I ask that I don't answer because part of me coming to Orthodoxy was asking those questions and not acting like I knew everything. So hopefully I can do that. If it's of my own will, I won't be able to. Any good or truth that you get from this is not going to be coming from me. Let's start on the book summary. So the first question that we're going to ask is, what is the Ecclesiastical Mystagogy? Ecclesia refers to church structure, and in this context, it's going to be specifically a theological vision of the liturgy. Mystagogy is referring to a hidden symbol, or just a symbol, because symbols are everywhere. In a way, the symbols aren't hidden, but rather our blindness prevents us from seeing it. So the mysteries or the symbols is what mystagogy is referring to. And throughout this work, St. Maximus, who happens to also be my patron saint, by the way, is going to talk about the hidden symbols found in the structure of the liturgy, worship, and architecture of the Orthodox Church. Why is St. Maximus writing this? Lord Theocharistos heard him relating thoughts on the divine liturgy that were beautiful and good for teaching. So Lord Theocharistos, forgive my terrible pronunciation, begged St. Maximus to write down these thoughts, lest they be lost to the fallibility of memory. But St. Maximus first refused because he felt he did not have the grace to do the majestic and intelligent things of that teacher justice. So St. Maximus received the seed for this work from a different teacher and was explaining it to Lord Theocharistos, and Lord Theocharistos said, "This is good, you should go teach this." But St. Maximus was like, "I'm not good enough." Nevertheless, St. Maximus accepted due to continued pleading and put his anxieties on God, who makes a way for the lost. So St. Maximus is exemplifying great humility here, because you and I either know or you're going to find out just how insightful and beautiful this work is going to be. So what St. Maximus will not be writing about clarifies in the work. He says this work isn't to be confused with St. Dionysius the Areopagite, Kant's work called the Ecclesiastical Hierarchy, St. Maximus will also not attempt to recall what that blessed teacher taught, the teacher that was referred to earlier, who taught from purity, having repented from the passions, and illumined his mind through hard work and the grace of the Spirit. St. Maximus will only recall what was said dimly, and if there be value, it would come by illumination from the Holy Spirit, and that which is afforded properly to him from the grace of the Spirit. So then he moves on, and he talks briefly in the introduction about God's essence, because we're going to see that he's going to talk about his activities. So God's essence, undefinable, totally beyond every cataphatic definition, which is a positive definition, or apophatic definition, which is a negative definition. He won't be speaking of God's essence, which is intellectually unreachable. And forgive me if intellectually is incorrect. It may be totally unreachable. So what will he be speaking of then? It will be God's activities or energies and their relationship with the activities of the Holy Church. So in what way is he speaking of the ecclesiastical mystagogy? Not according to essence or nature, but according to the activities. So that is where the symbolism is going to, and the relationships and the connections are going to be drawn. They're going to be drawn as we go through the work according to the actions, activities, operations of God and the Holy Church, although he will mention things according to nature. All right, so with the introduction out of the way, for this first video, you guys, I'm only going to start with the very first question. Question 1. How and in what mode the Holy Church is an image and representation of God? So he says, the first point of contemplation is that the church bears the image of God according to her activity, being the same as his activity. And in what way? According to representation. If there's a similarity between the church and God's activity, what is God's activity? God creates everything, their beginning and their end, and defines the limit of their existence, and separates their natures from one another. That's what makes it possible for us, right, to separate and know the natures of different things. God holds the natures separate from one another, but guides their relations to another and himself by their shared movement toward himself as their beginning and cause. So the natures of things are separate, they're held separate, so we can see, the nature of a cow and a cat are different, they're held separate. God holds those natures provincially separate. But, he says, their relations to another and to himself are by their shared movement toward himself. So he's saying everything, because God is the beginning and cause of everything is moving toward him as their beginning and cause. The cats and the cows, as a funny example, they're moving toward God. God creates nothing that originally moves toward division or discord or death, but everything naturally, right, by nature, finds its unity in God through relationship with him. So when we lose the relationship to God, then we unnaturally, not by our nature, we unnaturally move away to division and discord. But when we have established relation with him by nature, which everything is by nature created to have a relationship with him, we naturally move toward our beginning and our cause, and we find our unity in God. So St. Maximus, to quote him specifically here on page 51, says, he provincially binds the intelligible and sensible things to one another and to himself. This relationship, he says, now not quoting, but these are summary points now again, covers all other relationships, not because it dissolves their differences, but because it is more brilliant than them. The analogy he gives is, for the sun is more powerful than the stars. Consequently, its light covers their light when it comes into view. And then he says, to quote, for just as by nature the parts are from the totality, so also the effects are properly made known from the cause, and the cause holds the particularities of the effects at rest. And when the effects are comprehended by their reference to the cause, they are given quality wholly. Okay, so this is a little bit abstract, but let's come back to the analogy. It will help us understand what he's saying in this quote. The analogy, right? And we're speaking of God's activity. God's activity is like the sun. It's so bright that it outshines the other lights when it comes into view. But those lights are still held there. It's not, the sun isn't destroying the stars, right? It's just, its light is so bright that it covers the stars. So when he speaks of the parts are from the totality and that the effects are made known or comprehended by reference to their cause, he's saying that the unity of this relationship is so bright that it covers and it shines over all the little particularities, just like our sun analogy. So St. Maximus says that when the mind sees the principles guiding the things that are, it will end at seeing God, who is the beginning and end of creation and the, quote, everlasting foundation of the compass of the whole universe. I love this analogy of the compass he gives because it reminds us of that movement, right? That movement he talked about, how everything by nature is moving toward God. It's almost as if God created a compass in all the natures. They have this internal compass that is leading them or pointing them to the foundation, the arche, the source, right, who is God. Okay, so God's activity is that he holds nature separate from one another in difference, but that he is the relationship that shines and covers all natures over them. So we can, when we look at the little lights, we are brought to the big light, the sun. So now, continuing the question, we're going to talk about the Holy Church's activity. How and in what mode is the Holy Church's activity then an image and representation of God's activity? So what's the similarity? Quote, it will be shown that the Holy Church of God works the same things and in the same way as God does around us as an image relates to its archetype. So again, he's emphasizing by image, by representation. It's not going to be an exact fit, but we're going to see the similarities. So now we're going into the example. So in the church, there are many different kinds of people from different races, backgrounds, occupations, manners, cultures, etc. Yet even though these differences exist in the church, they are regenerated and recreated by the church and by the Holy Spirit to one end, Jesus Christ, who, like the sun's light, covers the many different lights of the heavens with one brilliant light. St. Maximus uses the analogy of the body to explain this, which, though having many members, is one. So just because I have 10 fingers and 10 toes, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears, that there's nothing about that which contradicts the oneness of my body. You can look at my body and see it's one body. And he says, the body is one and is worthy of the Word himself, who united himself to a fully human body. So that's the analogy for the church. Then he further supports this view by quoting Galatians chapter 3, verse 28, which says, quote, there is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Jesus Christ. But this oneness doesn't destroy the many lights, right? This one light, this brilliant light, doesn't destroy the many lights. It just covers them, unites them. He even leads the distinctions. So we're talking about God here. He even leads the distinctions or differences found in things to himself, so that their differences don't become alien or enemies of one another. So if you think of the people in the church, right? Different races, backgrounds, cultures, it'd be very easy, very common for those to become enemies. Those differences become alien and enemies to one another, or opposite to one another, dialectically opposed. But God, leading these distinctions, these differences to himself, makes them not enemies, but they find their union in their Creator despite their difference from one another. And here's his quote on it. Therefore, the Holy Church is an image of God, as it has been said, because she works the same oneness around the faithful as God does. Even if they are different in their characteristics and from different places and have different customs, those who are present are made one according to the same oneness through faith. So, what is the common activity? To conclude, the common activity between the Holy Church and God's activity is the oneness, the unity, the faith, a unity, a certain kind of unity, a special kind of unity that doesn't destroy our differences, but in fact, the differences are even led in unity to their Creator. And the church is the same. The church's activity is like a wide net that catches many fish, right? But it's caught under one net, which is Christ. That is the first question answered. I hope that you guys found this valuable, interesting, thought-provoking. If you have questions, post them in the comments. And hopefully we can use these resources on the internet without idolizing the internet itself, which is something I struggle with. I hope you found this useful. If you liked the video, like it, share it, and for the glory of Jesus Christ, bring this video to share with others. Jesus Christ's word can be shared across the internet in a productive way. I would like to thank my subscribers again who may be watching this for bringing my previous channel to where it is today. I'm very excited for the new channel, and I'm grateful for any of those that are interested that migrate over to this new channel. I thank you and appreciate you for your support. I hope to see you guys in part 2, where I will be answering hopefully more than just one question, sharing that with you guys. So thank you again, and I'll see you all in the next one.